that you have been well taken care of over the last few Sundays, but I'm just delighted to be home. I do want to let you know, if you've seen them as you were coming in, our fabulous teens are going down to the Pride Parade. They had a lock-in here last night. They kind of took over the place and had a great time spending the night here, and so I hope you had an opportunity to see them before they left. They're walking with the Peacemobile, Brandy Schaefer's Peacemobile, in the Pride Parade today. So we're just going to send them a lot of love and light, and they wanted us to know that they were here with us in spirit while they were walking down there. So I also want to talk about this morning, we are continuing on with our conversation in Earth School and lessons that we're learning from Earth School. Our book of the month is The Art of Uncertainty by Dennis Merritt Jones. It's a fabulous walk through how do I move through my life and embrace the unfolding nature, the uncertainty of it all, the ambiguity of life, the mystery of life, while still participating with my affirmations and my affirmative prayer and setting goals and those kinds of things. It's really an extraordinary book. It has wonderful practices in it. So if you haven't had a chance to get it, please do check it out. Today's topic is trust, the test of trust. And so I thought I would abandon myself into the trust of you guys and do something we haven't done in quite a while, and that is do a questions and answer service. An opportunity for you to ask questions, pose topics, things that you would like to have me talk about, and provide some extremely brilliant illumination on. And so I'm going to put a microphone down here. Actually, Rashad is going to be so gracious to put a microphone down here. So think about a question that you might have. Something about science of mind, spiritual practice, spiritual living, metaphysics, something about application, how do I live it, what do I do with it in my life, anything about the center, whatever topic you'd like to have me talk about for a little bit. And so you can be thinking about that now as we move into the beginning parts of the service so that you can then pose these questions. And so I would just say to those people who are watching online, you can always put a question out on our Facebook page, or you can email me with a question. We have lots of people who are watching our videos online, and many of them are finding their way here. I just would let you know that we have a whole study group in Australia that joins us on Sunday mornings, on their Sunday morning, which is not quite the same time as our Sunday morning. And they always look at last week's online video. So if you don't know that they're on our webpage, you can go to the front of the webpage and click on transformational videos and send them out to your friends. Dick does an amazing job. He has them up there by Wednesday. And so yeah, let's give him a round of applause. All right, so the other thing is I have a quick announcement. Actually, I have an invitation for you. This coming Friday night, we have our World Peace Day ritual. The ritual team... Saturday night. Thank you. I would not actually have been here on the wrong night, because I do have it in my calendar on the right night. Thank you. Saturday night is the World Peace Day ritual. It's the 21st. And as you may know, that the 10 days between September 11th and September 21st were created as the International Time of Peace, and culminating in the World Peace Day, celebrated by the United Nations and around the world. And so we're having an amazing ritual here Saturday night with the ritual team. And for those of you who have taken classes, we're going to be walking through peace through the four kingdoms of consciousness. And I do actually mean literally walking through the four kingdoms of consciousness and experiencing peace. It's really going to be an extraordinary ritual. And I invite you to come and bring your family and friends and just have a deep experience of how we become a part of the peace that we want to see in the world and how we contribute to that. We're especially dedicating it to the experiences that are happening in Syria and that part of the world to really bring our consciousness, lend our prayers and our attention and our focus to that. So we've already begun with all the prayer work. We've already begun to see some shifts. So let's really keep ourselves involved in that way. So please come Friday night, Saturday The 21st. Come on the 21st, whatever day of the week that is. Just come on the 21st, and we'll all be here together to deepen in that. All right. So I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome anyone who is here for the first time. Our greeters are coming. Hi, I'm Petra Weldis, Senior Minister of the Center for Spiritual Living in Dallas, and we're delighted that you found us here on the web. You can find our Sunday services on our website by every Wednesday. And we love that you can look at us online and explore these spiritual teachings. Feel free to explore our archives. It goes back a number of years with lots of special topics and amazing speakers. You can also sign up for our email news, My Daily Words, and my blog, Spiritual Living with Dr. Petra. If you're looking for a spiritual community, come visit us. Or if you're just in Dallas, drop on by. We'd love to give you a hug. Welcome home.
You may wonder what your world is coming to, with all the ups and downs that you've been through. But there's more than the eye can see. There's the truth in your divinity. Be still and know all is well. All is well, all is well. Be still and know all is well. All is well, all is well. Yeah. When those clouds roll in, don't you worry now. Before you know it, you'll be up with the sun. And on this world goes round and round. But in the chaos, there's something to be found. So be still and know all is well. All is well, all is well. Be still and know all is well. All is well, all is well. Don't you worry about the rain upon your shoulders. Don't you worry if the sun don't shine. Don't you worry if there's enough for tomorrow. For if you go inside, you will see a shining light. Whoa, be still and know all is well. All is well, all is well. Be still and know all is well. All is well, all is well. Be still and know all is well. All is well, all is well. Be still and know. Be still and know. Be still.
Lovely and talented Robin Hackett. Thank you so much. So, for those of you who weren't here at the opening, at the welcome of the service, I'm just going to remind you that we're doing a little bit of a Q&A today. It's one of my favorite things to do, but we haven't done one in quite a while. It's an opportunity for you to ask questions. So we can have a bit of a conversation. Normally we do this on pieces of paper, and then somebody reads them out to me, but I thought, what the heck, we'll just do it by microphone, and we'll just let you come up here and ask any questions that you have about science of mind, or metaphysics, or spiritual practice, or application, or just a topic that you would like for me to address because you thought about it, or it weighs on your mind or your consciousness. So, love to invite you to come up here and ask your questions. And please remember to say your name so people know who you are.
Yeah. I'm Jim Burron.
Hi, Jim.
And hi. Last night we were talking to Kyle, watching the video upstairs,
Yes.
and I came in when you were answering questions. I just really like to be refreshed on your answers as to where the name Center for Spiritual Living came from, kind of the background of that, some of those basics as to how we got here today.
Fabulous. All right. Thank you, Jim. So Jim and I got to watch it's called the Love Light program. That's teens are getting involved in. They're doing work with the orphans in South Africa and in Trinidad. And so they were creating prayer flags and to be part of these particular events. And the young man who brought this to us, Kyle, is relatively new to our community. And so he asked, okay, I'm a little confused. Why are we calling it Science Mind, and why do we call it Centers for Spiritual Living? Okay, so the short answer to that is Science of Mind is the philosophy that we teach, and it comes specifically from a man named Dr. Ernest Holmes, and he wrote many, many books in metaphysics, and his primary textbook, or his primary book where he really illuminated the philosophy in a more theoretical perspective, is a book called Science of Mind. And so we teach the Science of Mind philosophy. We're not exclusively teaching the science of mind. We teach all kinds of metaphysics. We look back into ancient wisdom and into psychology, into philosophy, and into science. And we look for the golden thread that runs through that teaches us about how the world works, how the universe works, and most importantly, how we participate, which is why Ernest Holmes called it the science of mind. We would probably today actually use it, we would probably, if we were titling it today, we would call it the science of consciousness. Really, he's using the term mind and thinking, but he really means consciousness. They just didn't use that word when he was writing in the 1920s. They didn't use it as much as we use it today. So we might today call it the science of consciousness. And of course, so much of that we get from quantum physics. We understand how our consciousness is related to the physical universe, and how as we observe and as we expect and as we believe, that is actually how our world shows up for us. And then we can participate in that by changing our mind, changing our consciousness, changing our thinking and our beliefs. We're actually changing the kind of experience that we have in life. So we have this philosophy, and Ernest Holmes was part of the metaphysical movement, the New Thought movement that includes unity and divine science. It includes people like Raymond Charles Barker and Emmett Fox and Joel Goldsmith and lots of other writers and other communities and organizations that all fall into this thing called New Thought, which is primarily an American-born understanding of the Christian Gospels married to Hinduism and the Eastern traditions, with, as I said, science and psychology thrown in. And so Dr. Ernest Holmes really was about teaching and healing. He had literally a healing place, a sanatorium. He heals people through the power of consciousness, the power of prayer, which is what our practitioners do today. And he taught, and it just so happened that he chose to teach on a Sunday morning at 11 o'clock in a Wilshire theater in the 1930s with thousands of people coming. And he created a thing called the Institute of Religious Science and Philosophy, and he began teaching this thing called the Science of Mind. So eventually an organization was developed. That organization has gone through many iterations of names, because science of mind and religious science all beg the question. People would ask, well, are you Scientology? Are you Christian Science? So we were constantly having to say, no, we're not that, as opposed to getting to talk about what we are. So in 2000, the organization asked itself the question collectively, internationally, well, what do we do as an organization? Well, we teach the philosophy, the science of mind, and metaphysics, and New Thought. But what do we do as an organization? Well, we are centers for spiritual living. We're centers where people can come and learn about and practice spiritual living. And so that's then how the organization, the name came to be. So Centers for Spiritual Living is the name of the organization. And we have sent our international headquarters is in Golden, Colorado. And we have centers all over the world. So there you go. All right, Rashad, come on up here. Thanks, Jim, for that question.
Yes, you sort of led into my question.
Yes.
When you talked about quantum physics and how our physical reality kind of mirrors our consciousness. And I have a general question as to, could you briefly explain what spiritual mind treatment is and how and why?
Great, thanks, Rashad. Okay, spiritual mind treatment is the word that we use to describe our form of affirmative prayer. If you take any of our classes, which I highly recommend you do, if you haven't taken the class, you need to run, not walk, to get into them. It is the place where you learn the practices and the principles, and you really start applying them in a big way. So we teach spiritual mind treatment. So we understand from a spiritual perspective that every experience that we have has a mental and spiritual cause. Now we can apply something to the physical world, like we can take an aspirin. We can do a treatment like a physical treatment to the physical world. We can change a job. We can do things out here in the physical world. But ultimately, the place where real healing lives is in our consciousness and in our belief system. And so a spiritual mind treatment is like taking a pill for your consciousness. That's why it's called spiritual mind treatment. It's like giving yourself a treatment, like a facial treatment or a medical treatment. Only it's a treatment for our consciousness. We're literally taking a pill for our consciousness. Only it's a process of changing an old belief and inducing a new belief. So spiritual mind treatment is designed to help us shift our consciousness and believe something new. So it builds on the idea of affirmations. We use those affirmations. We tell ourselves what we know to be true about our lives. We affirm them. But we ground them in spiritual principle, in spiritual truth, which is the presence and the practice of this one infinite power. So we always start with recognizing what do we know about the divine. We say something about that. What do we know about what is true about that infinite reality? Because that grounds us in something larger than we are. Because we're not making it happen, right? We're participating in consciousness as a whole. What's true about the one, and then we remember that we're a part of it. Oh, that's right, I'm a part of this one. So if something that I say to be true about the divine, peace, abundance, wholeness, whatever that is, I'm a part of it. In our spiritual mind treatment, we're reminding ourselves of that truth. And then if it's true about the one, somehow it's already true about me. And so I am doing whatever work is required to remembering the truth, and revealing that truth to myself in my own consciousness. And it is out of that revelation that a new belief is born. Oh, that's right. I don't have to be afraid of this change in job because I'm a part of the abundant universe. I'm a part of the whole. And that abundance and that prosperity is right where I am. So what's there to be afraid of? I simply realign myself with that truth. And then, of course, when we recognize and remember truth, the most obvious response then is to be grateful that it is the truth, to be grateful that we've remembered it, and to be grateful that it will manifest itself now in our lives. And then we let our spiritual mind treatment, our affirmative prayer, we let it go into the universal law to bring that manifestation about. So our spiritual mind treatment has very specific steps that have been designed to create a new belief, to develop an idea in consciousness so deeply that we believe it. And it is in that moment of belief that healing happens and our life changes. So come to classes that you'll learn more and more and more about it and get deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into the practice. Thanks, Rashad. All right, my dear.
Hi, I'm Holly.
Hi, Holly.
Can you please further specify how quantum physics, relates to CSL?
Yes.
Okay.
Holly, that's an awesome question. Thank you. It's one of my favorite topics. I'm so glad you asked. Okay. So in the quantum field, one of the things that science is revealing, oh God, this is obviously a serious question because I can't answer that question with my high heel shoes on. Okay. So one of the things we learn about from quantum science is that the idea of the electron, do you remember learning about electrons and atoms in school, right? And do you remember that they look like tinker toys? Do you remember that? So there was the proton, and then it had these little things, and the atoms were built around it, and they all were these little discrete pieces. And the picture, once the tinker toy then picture went away, it was basically like a little solar system, wasn't it? You have the neutron with the protons in there, and then you have the electrons running around the outside, and wherever that electron was, and however many electrons there were, that would tell you what atom it was. And then of course the atoms combine, they make the molecules combine, and then they make trees and plants and iron and whatever else. Okay, quantum physics has discovered that picture is close but not quite. So while the essential elements are there, from quantum physics, one of the things that we understand is that we cannot determine where electron is in location, and we can't determine its speed at the same time. You can either determine its speed or its location. And if you want to know its location, it is in the application of observation that you locate the electron. Up until the moment of observation, the electron actually could be anywhere. It's the quantum field of possibility. And it is in the observation of it that we see it in a place, we locate it in a place. Okay, are you with me so far? All right. So the infinite field of possibility is forever available to us. The Hindus and the Buddhists call this the infinite ground of being, the pregnant void from which all things come. And it is simply available. It is in the process of participating with it, whether it's a bird or a plant or God or us, or that is in the process of participating with it, seeing it, observing it, and for us, making a choice that collapses the infinite field of possibility into this. So, you're in a party. There is an infinite field of possibility. People like me, people hate me. Oh, there's somebody here I might want to hook up with. Oh, there's nobody here I'm interested in. All these people are snobs. All these people are great. Infinite field of possibility. Do you see? Okay, now, I make a choice. I'm an introvert. I don't really do really well at parties. I don't always like parties. I'm not sure I'm going to have anything to say. I have just collapsed the field of possibility into my experience. Do you see? That's how the quantum field expresses itself in the macro field of our experience. And our beliefs and choices and attitudes and feelings and ideas that we have, these are the ways in which we observe the world. And so we are over and over and over again collapsing the field of possibility, infinite possibility. We're collapsing it into what we expect to see, what we believe to be true, and what we inevitably think or feel about. So if we want to collapse the field of possibility into something new, what has to change? The way in which we observe it. Nothing out here has to change. The infinite field of possibility is forever the infinite field of possibility. The electron literally can be anywhere. And it is in our choice, in our saying, I believe this to be true. Oh, I believe that, it's really hard to get a job. Or I believe that abundance flows to me easily. I believe that relationships are terrible and they never work out. I believe that love is the answer. Whatever. Do you see? Every belief, we're over and over and over again collapsing the field of infinite possibility into our reality. And of course, we're doing that individually, and then we're doing it collectively. And so we're having our individual experience, and we're having our collective experience, whether that's the collection of our family, our community, a company we work in, a neighborhood, a country, an ethnicity, the world, a region of the world. We're constantly collapsing that field of possibility into the reality that we're experiencing, whether we're experiencing it individually or collectively. And so that is going back to the question about spiritual mind treatment, right? That's exactly what we're doing in spiritual mind treatment. In our spiritual mind treatment, we are treating our mind, our consciousness, our belief system to choose the reality that we want to actually experience, so that we are over and over again practicing collapsing reality into the form, the shape, the experience that we want, as opposed to the way it's being habitually collapsed into reality out of our past, our trauma, our old beliefs, the way in which we've decided the world is, or all of those kinds of things. And so we take classes to clean all of that stuff out and to begin to build new ideas, new beliefs, so that we can actually have the life experience that we want. Thank you. Final question.
Of all the Sundays that I've come here, this type of Sunday and the Sunday when we hand out the money are my two favorites. And for you folks who don't know, you never know when those Sundays might come.
That's right.
So just be here. I really like the idea, and I surely like to acknowledge the fact I've been in a lot of churches. I don't know very many ministers that have the courage or want to teach in such a way that they'll even stand up and do what you do. And I really So my question is something that I think I know, but I need to hear it over and over and over again. And every time I hear you say it, I get a little bit more from it. And you talk about that there's 4 different ways that people who experience God, divine, whatever. And I remember it's like you can be in service like a Mother Teresa. You can be like the hermit who contemplates and sits upon the mountain. Some folks need a personality, so they have a Buddha or Jesus or whatever. And then other folks do the intellectual thing, and they have gravity and electricity and all that kind of stuff. Can you just talk about that, because that helps me understand me as well as other people out there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I thought you did a great job. Okay.
But there's a term and all that.
Okay, well, I can flesh it out just a little bit, but you actually did a great job, Michael.
And if you stick in a couple of DCs for me.
Okay, so basically what Michael's referring to, this comes from Hinduism. And one of the things that we get from Hinduism is a deep recognition that there is no one way to the divine. We're all unique, we're all different, we all have different sensibilities and temperaments, and so there are different ways in which we engage in our relationship with the divine. And so they've identified 4 primary paths, and they call them yogas, 4 primary paths. And Michael illuminated them. The first one, not in any particular order, is Raja Yoga, which is the royal road of meditation. People who are hermits, or just really meditation is their path to experiencing the divine, experiencing oneness, and expressing their spirituality. Raja Yoga is the royal road to meditation. Bhakti Yoga is the road of devotion and really are people who are very much into Jesus, Buddha, the guru figures. There's a love that is being poured out onto the divine that represents the same love that's being poured back. So it's a bit of an I-thou sort of relationship. And so Bhakti Yoga is the road of devotion. Karma Yoga is the road of service. Mother Teresa is a perfect example. People who experience their spiritual practice and their relationship with the divine by being in service to people, to an idea, to the planet, whatever it is. And then Jnana Yoga, which tends to be my practice. It's the lovingly and affectionately called the "you can't get there from here" practice. And it's the practice of the intellect and the practice of contemplation. And so it is the desire to understand more deeply and to contemplate concepts and ideas to the point where one is popped into insight and enlightenment or understanding. And so the Zen koan is a fabulous a tool for the Jnana Yoga, and it's that thing that allows us to shift our consciousness from using our intellect. And so those are the 4 paths, and most of us have a tendency to have 1 or 2 that are really primary. We might have a 3rd that we're kind of good with, and there might be a 4th one that just doesn't resonate with us at all. And that's why some of us are in this community or in a different community. Some of us practice different forms of faith or religion, and that's why some of us practice different spiritual practices speak to us. Meditation might not speak to you, but going to dig the garden at Gooch Elementary School might be like such an experience of contribution and oneness. Well, that means you're a karma yoga person. You're a service person. So don't beat yourself up. Continue to practice meditation to the best of your ability and go be in service. Do you see that we have to walk the path that suits us? And we try here at the Center for Spiritual Living to have a little bit in all of them, so that first of all, that you can discover what really resonates for you, but then you can actually participate with others in those practices. Thank you, Michael. Okay. All right. Thanks.
I'm Cecilia, and can you speak to the master teacher taught that the kingdom of heaven is within? Can you speak to how that ties into science of mind and like the philosophy, what that means?
Thank you. Oh man, there's so many ways to enter into that question. How long do we have? The short answer, the short answer to that question, yes. So that would be one of the primary things that we teach here at Center for Spiritual Living and the Science of Mind. While we recognize that there is a divine mystery that is the transcendent reality that we call God, that we call Spirit, Great Spirit, the Force, Universal Presence. There's lots of words for that. We also recognize with so many of the indigenous people that Great Spirit, that life force, is also here, the immanent reality of the divine. And so Jesus not only said the kingdom of heaven is within, he also said, when you see me, you see the Father. What he meant was that when we are not living from our egoic self, but allowing the egoic self to be the window into the divine reality of who we are, we recognize that which we are looking for, the love, the peace, the joy, the experience of life and connectedness, the kingdom, which we are all inheritors of, that isn't out there. It's not out there. It's not a good job or a nice house or a fancy car or people or whatever. It's actually here. The kingdom of heaven is within us already. And it's not something we look for after we die. You don't have to die to be in the kingdom of heaven. We are already living in it. It is the experience. We live in the kingdom of heaven when we are experiencing our oneness, our unity with the divine. We're standing in the identity of the I am that I am. Not the fear and the little person and the doubt and the concern, but when we're standing in the identity of the I am that I am, the presence and the power of life itself as me, we are living in the kingdom. And he uses the idea of the kingdom because it is in that place that we have the word of authority. We can't speak the word of authority from our human self. When we speak the word from our human self, it's usually the word of worry or fear or doubt or uncertainty or I'm not really sure, what should I do? What do you think I should do? Just tell me and I'll do it, whatever it is. Right, but when we stand in the identity of who we are, and this again goes back to Rashad's question about spiritual mind treatment, this recognition that there is one life, the unification, I'm a part of it, that life is my life now. Now when I speak that word, you see, I speak the word of authority as if I am the king or the queen in my own life. So that's why he uses the term kingdom. He could have, used the term, I don't know, that the peaceful field of happiness is within you. But there's a reason why he uses the term kingdom, because it's the kingdom. It's the recognition that in that place we are our own king and queen. The God presence as us, the I that I am, we are the ones that are having the authority in our own lives. And we exercise that authority through our prayer, through our spiritual mind treatment, through our affirmations, and through all of the ways in which we speak the word of authority for ourselves. And we recognize that we do that as the divine, as us. Thank you, Cece.
Amen.
All right. Amen. Yes.
Geneva spiritual director. I actually have a situation in which I'm comfortable and understand spiritual mind treatment when I'm doing things for myself. I recently had a situation with a friend at a distance, not part of science of mind, that I want to be able to pray specifically to the issue. And many times I've heard if we're praying for somebody else and they haven't asked for prayer specifically, we can only do generalizations, best help, whatever the case is. What's the best way to pray for those when you know what their situation is?
Well, the best way to pray for them is to ask. Is it okay for me to pray for you?
Okay, and if I've done that,
Then pray for them.
okay, in the same way I would for myself.
Oh, absolutely. The technique doesn't change. You pray for them the same way that you would pray for yourself, only you're knowing the truth about them. The only reason that we have an ethical boundary about not praying for people specifically that haven't asked is because prayer works. And they might not want what you're praying for them. Okay? Particularly your children or your mate. Just saying. Just saying.
Hi, I'm Aaron Capps. My wife and I began attending here about 7-8 months ago, and I came from a evangelical Christian background, and then I kind of entered a decade of disillusionment where I completely backed away for about 10 years, really, and kind of came back to God and came here, and I'm glad I'm here. So my question relates to my reconciling my prior experience of God and that interpretation with what I'm learning here through my reading. And so I guess my primary question would be maybe a CSL viewpoint on the Bible and how that would differ from and what the points of connection would be with my prior evangelical
Absolutely.
Christian viewpoint.
It's a fabulous question. Don't go away. Don't go away. Tell me your name again.
Aaron.
Aaron. I know I met you, Aaron. Okay. Yolanda, Dina, are you guys in the room? Dina, who has walked this walk? Will you stand up? Please stand up. Well, but I know we have some people who have really seriously been very close to their evangelical background and have walked this walk and have come to this place. Okay. So these are your resources. Please check in with Aaron. Okay, it's a great question. It's really important. Thank you so much. Thank you. And I'm going to answer that question for just a minute here. I was born and raised in Roman Catholic, and so that's where my walk came from: Roman Catholicism and Episcopalianism, and then into this faith tradition. So I would say the most important thing in answering that question is that the Center for Spiritual Living here in the Science of Mind, our teaching is firmly rooted in the teachings of Jesus, in the Gospels. It is done unto you as you believe. Your faith has made you whole. The little child shall lead them, and we seek to walk the walk. Where we tend to differ from that perhaps evangelical perspective is that we don't actually see that Jesus was any different than any one of us in anything other than his illuminated consciousness. He so walked the walk that he shows us what it means to say, I am Father of one. You want to see what that looks like? Go read the Bible. Read the New Testament. Read the things that Jesus is supposed to have said. and you will see what it looks like. It looks like compassion, love, an ability to see beyond physical limitation and see wholeness. You'll see what it means to walk as a being of spirit. We don't believe that Jesus was the only person who has ever walked that walk. We have other examples, other prophets from the Old Testament, from the Hebrew faith, prophets from the Islamic faith, gurus and people from the Eastern traditions, shamans from the indigenous traditions. There are many people of spirit that have walked the walk and that have demonstrated more or less to their ability. Now, we live in a Judeo-Christian culture primarily up until probably the last few decades. We live in a primarily Judeo-Christian culture. So our primary spiritual story has been the Bible. And our primary spiritual examples have been Jesus and the other prophets in the Old Testament. And what we're discovering as we become a global society is that these aren't the only examples. And so Science of Mind would say, and we would teach here at the Center for Spiritual Living, that we should honor those who have walked the walk. And if there is one that really speaks to us, then follow that path. Just as Michael's question, there are 4 paths of yoga. This isn't the only path. This is the path that works for me. It works for you, or you wouldn't be here. But a Christian path works for people for whom that resonates, that story resonates. The Hindu path or the Islamic path or whatever it is, the ancient African path, whatever that is, we are... So, that's from our point of view. Science of Mind would also say that we recognize that this infinite presence is so infinite that no path can encompass all of the one, the infinite reality. No path can, no spiritual tradition, no text, the Science of Mind, the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, no text can illuminate all of the infinite divine. And so, not only do we seek to find the golden thread that runs through all traditions, I'm particularly interested in what each faith tradition adds to the experience of that divine and to the evolution of humanity's spiritual sensibility. So one of the things that Christianity has really given to the spiritual sensibility is the elevation of the individual. Jesus was the incarnation of the divine. And in the Western tradition, that was a brand new idea. And that God was Father, not patriarch, not lightning bolt throwing Zeus up there, but Father, intimate and knowable and experienceable. So there's a profound addition that each faith tradition gives to the collective experience and the largest possible image of the divine. So if you think of, this is not new. It's a classic example. If you think of God as a mountain, and so a mountain has many different faces. It can have a sheer cliff on one side and a lovely ravine on the other, and some dry steps on the third side, and you see each. If I were to describe climbing up using ropes and pitons and the things, if I were climbing up the rock face and you were coming up this beautiful, gentle ravine by this gorgeous waterfall, it would be like we were talking apples and oranges, wouldn't it be? And yet we would be climbing the same mountain. But if everybody was describing their sort of face of the mountain and we pieced them all together, we might actually have a pretty good idea of what the mountain looks like, what it feels like. And when we find ourselves somewhere on a particular side of the mountain and all of a sudden we go, oh, wait, I read something about this. Somebody has been on this side of the mountain and they've left instructions, they've left guidance, they've left little signs and clues about like how to get over and through this part. So we reach for those, and so we reach for the ancient texts and the deep spiritual wisdom that is in all these scriptures, because they show us the different faces of that infinite reality. And so when we speak specifically of the evangelical Christian perspective, that's one of those sides, and it is to be honored and valued if we find ourselves on that side of the mountain. And if we no longer want to walk that path, we don't make it wrong. We just say that's not the path for me. We now walk a different path. And so finding those bridges. So the final thing I want to say about that is that from the spiritual perspective, from the Centers for Spiritual Living, we don't see the Bible as dictation by God, or as the inerrant word, or as even necessarily historically correct. We see it as deep spiritual wisdom. And a lot of people have a hand in writing it. It was written over centuries. Some of it was deep spiritual wisdom. Some of it was political propaganda. Some of it was, just church doing business in the time period in which they were in. And our job in spiritual discerning is to find the spiritual, the spiritual wealth that is there, just as we would if we were working with other ancient texts. So thank you for the question. Please know that you don't walk alone. This is what we have community for, is to share in the walk as we grow spiritually together. Thanks, Erin. One last question. Hi.
Yes, I'm Kyle, and would you expound on the principle of the universal law?
Yes, I'd be happy to expound on anything you want me to expound on. Thanks, Kyle. I will. The universal law. Okay, so we teach the universal law of cause and effect, and that is the understanding that everything that you see in the physical universe is actually an outpicturing of a mental or spiritual cause. At the universal level, the macroscopic level, the macrocosmic level, that is an outpicturing of the divine. So we actually understand that the scientific laws, the natural laws, the laws that we discover out here are a reflection of the universal reality. So we can actually learn something about this infinite one, this thing that we call God, by looking at the lawful way in which the universe operates. And it teaches us that it does operate actually in a lawful way. Even in chaos theory and in quantum theory, there's an understanding of an implicit order, a universal order that runs beneath all of that. Even in ultimate chaos, there is a pattern of order. And so we're particularly interested in those patterns and how that relates to us as individuals. Of course, what's creating in our life are the patterns in our consciousness. Those are the patterns that we're most interested in. What thoughts, beliefs, and attitudes do we have that are the patterns for the life experience that we're having ourselves? And so when we look at something that we're experiencing, particularly if it's something that happens over and over and over again, then we ask ourselves, what's the pattern? And what is that illuminating about our consciousness? And so we're constantly looking at this cause-effect relationship. Now, it's not always a one-on-one, like a billiard ball. You hit the ball and it hits the other ball, and I can tell, oh, this happens, this does that, and then that happens. Sometimes I think we have a little bit too simplistic an understanding of the universal law. But there is this notion that we can experience the patterns of our lives and recognize that those patterns are outpictured in a very lawful, orderly way in our life experience out here. And so if we want to change this out here, rather than, drawing on the mirror, we actually have to comb our own hair, change our own consciousness, change our own patterns. So the cornerstone of Science of Mind, the Centers for Spiritual Living, is this dual unity, love and law, presence and principle, mystery and the divine, and the universal order that we can understand. Those two things are melded together. You can't have one without the other. And so we seek to experience the love, and we seek to understand and use the law. Thanks, Kyle, for that question. Thanks for your patience. Your questions have been great. We've run a little long. I really am grateful for your patience. We'll just take this moment to pray. Just breathing into the truth of being, breathing into the love of life, breathing into the community that we are here in this room and across the planet. Just allowing ourselves to be filled with the gratitude, the love, the joy, the presence, the one, infinite reality. And knowing that from that springs all of the multiplicity of ways in which we show up. We're grateful for this opportunity to share and grow together. We simply call it blessed and good, and so it is.